Star Trek, The Next Generation, Starfleet Academy, number 13, The Haunted Starship, Chapter 11. The outer airlock door to the suit-up room on Deck 5 opened, and Sanchez, Geordi, and Hassan slowly drifted across 15 meters or so of empty space toward the surface of Siva. Sivan was keeping Ben a fixed distance away from the asteroid with the tractor beams the ship normally used to tie up at facilities such as space dock. It was a smart choice to make. With her shipmates outside, Sivan didn't want to use the ship's thrusters to maintain station. Someone might get hurt by the sudden ignition of one of Ben's thruster units. Using their thruster packs, Geordi and the two other cadets oriented themselves so their feet were aimed toward the surface of Siva. They touched down gently, taking the slight jar of their landings in their knees and ankles. "Move very carefully," Sanchez warned over their communications link. "This rock's much too small to have any real gravity. You want to walk with a sort of shuffle. Try to keep your weight balanced so you don't go flying off into the great beyond. Pretend you're walking on ice." He set off in the direction of the signal, the others following in a line. "I don't seem to weigh anything at all," Hassan mused. "I feel as if I could jump off this rock and not come back down." "You just might manage it," Sanchez told him. "The gravity of an asteroid this size is extremely weak. Humans have fallen right off rocks like these and been lost forever." Geordi looked at Shiva's horizon, which was only a few dozen meters away. There was nothing to be seen but cracked, broken rock. The bright sunlight threw black shadows, making it hard for Geordi to see where to put his feet. Siva was as desolate and lifeless a place as there could possibly be. No one could expect there ever be anything worth looking at in a place like this. But here they were. Geordi looked up. Ben filled the sky. She hovered only 15 meters or so above his head. He felt as if he could reach out and touch her. Sanchez consulted his tricorder. "This way," he ordered, pointing. "Sivan, we're heading approximately 60 meters on a bearing of 175.3 from grid north." "Back home we call that south," Sivan replied. "Watch your step, boys." Carefully, Geordi and the others slid and picked their way across the shattered surface of Siva. Once in a while, when the light was adequate, Geordi saw what looked like phaser burns marking the fronts and sides of the surfaces around them. "What are these, Captain?" he asked, pointing. "Looks like someone's been shooting at each other out here." "Those are the impact trails of micrometeorites," Sanchez told him. "Little rocks are hitting these big ones all the time. The micros that made these marks are probably similar to the one that took out Trennick's airline yesterday." "You're absolutely sure that wasn't the work of Billy Devil?" Sivan joked. "Shiva looks like it could serve as Billy Devil's current headquarters," Geordi said. "It's dry, airless, and downright unfriendly." "And here I thought I might actually be missing something," said Trennick. The Andorian cadet was stationed at the transporter controls, just in case another situation arose where a cadet needed emergency beam-up. The three cadets finally reached the spot indicated by Sanchez's tricorder. They were at the edge of a big crater in the rock. "This open area covers almost 100 square kilometers," Sanchez reported. "But there's not a lot of flat area. It has a lot of deeper canyons and ridges across the bottom. We'll have to scramble a bit as we go. Get your lights ready." Threading his way between ridges, Geordi thumbed his flashlight on and pointed it here and there. He saw nothing but rock and more rock. There was a sharp bend about 5 meters ahead. Geordi couldn't see past that. "How much farther do we have to go, Captain?" he asked. "The tricorder says 20 meters, give or take. I wonder what we'll find. The mass I'm reading is pretty small for a ship." "Perhaps it was built by a species of smaller beings," Hassan guessed. We'll soon find out, Sanchez said as they rounded the bend. He pointed his flashlight forward, and all of them saw a telltale glint of metal. There she is, Hassan said. Even from here I can tell that I have never seen anything like it before. They hurried to the spot as quickly as the light gravity permitted. Geordi was the first to speak. This isn't a ship, Captain, he said. This is an escape pod. It's just a lifeboat, nothing more. See? It has chemically powered engines. He pointed toward the stern of the little spacecraft. You can't go very fast with those. Does anyone recognize this style of construction? Hassan asked, walking around the part of the ship that was not embedded in the rocky asteroid. Not me, Geordi said. I've never seen anything like this before. Sanchez frowned. The tricorder's not telling me very much about these engines, he complained. I gather there's nothing to tell. Do you see anything about them I should know, Geordi? Geordi looked them over carefully. All I can see is that they seem to be intact, sir. I believe this craft simply ran out of fuel, and that its pilot was forced to land here. There's no visible damage, and it appears... Wow, Sanchez exclaimed. This is incredible. What is it, Bernie? Siobhan called. I've just tapped into the tricorder readings of the age of the rock around this thing, Sanchez said. He paused. This craft has been sitting here undisturbed for more than 600,000 years, based on the surrounding formations. It's still in perfect condition, too. It's been protected from dust and micro impacts all this time because it was embedded in this pocket of rock. Are there any remains aboard, Captain? Trennick asked. I think we'd all like to know what kind of people built this thing. No, there are no bodies in plain view, San. Sanchez approached the little spacecraft and aimed his flashlight through a nearly transparent dome and onto a padded seat where the pilot would have sat. This craft appears to be a one-seater for a being about the same size and shape as one of us, but there's no body inside. Could whoever it was have wandered away and died elsewhere? Siobhan wondered. Perhaps. This is all rock here, no dust, so there's no footprints showing for us to follow. If he's still on Siva to find, though, then we'll find him. Sanchez carefully aimed the tricorder here and there for several long minutes. There's no trace anywhere on Siva of any sort of organic material except for us three, Sanchez finally reported. If anyone was ever aboard this craft, he's not on Siva now. Ship sensors indicate the name, Trennick added. Perhaps he was rescued by his counterparts, Geordi said. I don't think so, Sanchez replied. There was regret in his voice. If he'd been saved, he'd have turned off the beacon, or his rescuers would have. They'd probably have retrieved the escape pod, too. No, I think our friend accidentally fell off Siva somehow and never managed to climb back on. If he died outside the cockpit, he could have just drifted away. I wonder what happened, Hassan said. Did this lifeboat come from a large starship, such as we have in Starfleet? Or is this person piloting a merchant ship all by himself? What happened to that bigger ship? And what was it doing here in this star system that long ago anyway? We may never know the answers to any of those questions, Sanchez said. Believe me, I don't have a clue about how to find out either. I wonder if some of the old legends concerning ghosts in the belt were caused by this beacon-generating device, Hassan said. Good question, said Sanchez. If there is ever an excuse for a legend to arise, we've seen it here. I wonder why we're not being visited by the so-called ghost anymore, Geordi said. After all, we're standing right on top of the beacon device. Perhaps that is why it isn't doing anything, Hassan guessed. Maybe our transporter beam or life signs indicated a presence, and so it has stopped transmitting. Are we going to try to move the pod now, Captain? We could certainly tractor it out of this rock easily in this very low gravity. Not on your life, Sanchez told him. We're not going to try to get inside the pod either. No, we're handing this over to the experts just as soon as we can. This is too important. For one thing, I think Starfleet might like to find out how to build a battery that can hold a charge for 600,000 years. Siobhan, does Siva have a beacon placed on it? One of ours, I mean? No, Captain, it doesn't. Fire one into it then, right over this spot. I want this site marked for the follow-up survey team. Right away, Bernie. A moment later, they saw a flash and felt a slight thump through their boots as one of their own beacons plowed into the rock beside them. Nice shot, Sanchez said. Call me Deadeye. Hey, said Geordi suddenly, looking toward the nearest wall of rock. What about all this writing over here, Captain? Writing? Sanchez asked, aiming his own flashlight at the wall. What writing? I don't see anything. It's right there, Geordi insisted. He swept his flashlight over the wall. The writing looks like it was etched into the rock with something like a phaser focused to emit a very narrow beam, he continued. The style of the alphabet doesn't look at all familiar to me, but whoever wrote this had a bunch to say. There's an awful lot here. I'm the last one to cast doubt on anything you see. From now on, LaForge, Sanchez said. There must be some explanation, though. Let me fool with the tricorder a little. Here we go. Sanchez studied the readout on the device closely. You're right, Geordi, he said after a moment. Looks like writing, very neat writing, and there's a great deal of it. It's visible only in a spectrum we can't see. Well, most of us anyway. Your visor picked it up without trouble, though. I'm making a video record of it now. Whatever species built the pod must have had eyes that were vastly different from ours, Geordi guessed. I think you must be right, Sanchez said. We may never know for sure, but this writing could be a personal log kept by the occupant of the pod during the time he was marooned here. Who knows? Might be a last will and testament. Starfleet's translators will take a good solid whack at it anyway. Good job, Geordi. This evidence might have been damaged somehow, either by us or the follow-up team if you hadn't been around to warn us. My word, Hassan exclaimed. Have we found something really good here, or what? This is much better than good, Hassan, Sanchez told him, grinning. Not only have we located this ancient lifeboat, but Geordi's discovered the only written record left by a previously unknown species that visited the solar system more than 500,000 years ago. We've rewritten history without even breaking a sweat. That's a pretty full day's work for a bunch of wet-behind-the-ears asteroid counters, if you ask me. He paused. You might even say it's outstanding. Chapter 12. It was Sunday afternoon, and all 5 of them had come to the bridge for these last few minutes together. Approaching space dock, Siobhan reported. We have our clearance to dock, Captain, Trennick reported from the communication station. She smiled. Strange, but they didn't stall us off this time. We've been placed at the head of the incoming line. Her smile broadened. Gee, I wonder why. Take us on in, McKenna, Sanchez said quietly. He glanced over his left shoulder at the engineering station. How are we doing, you two? Everything is fine, Captain, Hassan reported. We're go for docking. Geordi has just finished running the end-of-mission diagnostics, all systems nominal. The Benjamin Franklin, the oldest ship of them all, moved easily through Space Dock's massive main gate and on inside. Captain, Trennick said, incoming message traffic. She trailed off. Sanchez swiveled around in his seat, looking concerned. What is it, son? Trennick was shaking her head. I have, something on the order of 200 messages from other ships in Space Dock greeting us on our arrival, sir. Make that 300. More! I guess Starfleet got your report, Bernie, said Siobhan. The captain remained quiet for a moment. Then he said, Send this to each individual ship, son. Thank you. Sanchez, commanding Benjamin Franklin, end message. Aye, sir. Ben moved farther into space dock, heading for her assigned berth on the side opposite the main gate. Whoa, Siobhan said. Look out there, guys. Look what's happening. They all looked. Geordi saw that at first one, and then another, and then another, and another of the ship, another. That's four anothers there. Of the ships in space dock began flashing their running lights in a pattern of tribute as Ben passed by them. Soon they were all doing it, every one of the more than 300 ships present. From Starfleet's finest top-of-the-line cruiser to the humblest space dock drone. It was all for Ben, and for the 5 of them, for a job well done. My, said Hassan, I must admit that this is most affecting. I'm recording this for my old age, said Siobhan. Her eyes were wet. Don't miss our berth, McKenna, Sanchez said with quiet humor. It'd be kind of embarrassing after all this fuss. Not a chance, Captain. Smoothly, Ben spun 90 degrees on her middle axis and coasted sideways towards space dock wall. Siobhan put the port view on screen. They saw that Ben's berth was lighted and waiting to receive her. They could see people watching them from behind the pressure doors. Dead stop, Captain, Siobhan reported. Tractor beams on. We are docked and locked, sir. She sat back in her chair and stretched. It's been quite a weekend, she said tiredly. Bernie, find yourself another Starship driver next time, I think. I quit. Sanchez laughed. Come to think of it, so do I. Till the next mission comes along, anyway. Come on, everyone. We've got a ship to shut down, and then we've got to get back to the Academy. It took about half an hour to shut down Ben's systems and put the ship in parking mode. After the job was done, the 5 cadets gathered for a final time in Ben's tiny transporter room, where it had all begun just 2 days before. It was time now to say goodbye. Each of them knew they'd be seeing the others here and there around school for at least the rest of the term, but it wouldn't be the same. This was the end of a very short but very important time. I hope we get to do this again, everyone, Hassan told them all as he stepped onto the transporter platform with his bag. I have learned much during my time with you. Thank you, Captain, Siobhan, Geordi, Trennick. May we meet again and often. Thank you, Hassan, Sanchez said. Energizing. Hassan disappeared. Trennick sighed. I guess it is over, she said. Me next, Siobhan said. She seemed a little upset as she stepped onto the platform. Look, everyone, I really hate goodbyes. Let's just take them for granted, okay? Captain Bernie, I'm glad you invited me along. It's been a pleasure, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Now please beam me off this bucket. Sanchez smiled. We're still having lunch on Monday, though, right? Energizing. As long as you're buying, Siobhan said, her voice and smile fading as she beamed out. You're next, Trennick, Sanchez said. Step on up. Trennick was lugging the big, overpacked bag she'd brought aboard. I never used more than a handful of this stuff, she said, as she set it down next to her on the platform. I'll know better next time. Thank you for the ride, Captain. My pleasure, Sanchez said. And it's just Bernie now, by the way. We're home again. Bernie, then, she smiled. Geordi? I just don't know what to say. Geordi shrugged, and he grinned. And don't say anything. I'm glad we served together, Trennick. I'll see you around. And I'm glad to know I'll still be around. Count on it, Captain? I'm ready. Energizing. When Trennick was gone, Sanchez turned to Geordi. It's my turn to thank you, Geordi. You already know for what. Before we left, though, I also wanted to apologize. Apologize? Geordi was puzzled. For what? For doubting your initial report. I was wrong to do so. You have nothing to apologize for, Captain. Bernie. It was an extremely unusual situation, and you were in a bad position. I realized that at the time. Regardless, Sanchez said, you were sure of your story and you stuck by it, even when it seemed likely you'd be cashiered for it. It's a rare kind of confidence, but I think it's the best kind, when it's justified, as yours was. I envy you that kind of self-assurance, Geordi. Never lose it. Geordi didn't know what to say. Now tell me something, Sanchez said. Just between us now. Didn't you, even for just a moment, think the ship was really being haunted by Captain Ikushima when you first saw him? Geordi tried hard, but he couldn't hide a broad smile. You better believe I did. They both laughed heartily. So did I, but only after Hassan made his report, Sanchez confessed. I guess there's tendency in all of us to fall back on superstition, even when we know better. We still tell kids ghost stories, and I guess a lot of that kind of thing stays with us even after we grow up. It's comforting to think that someone like Captain Ikushima might be watching over us, silly as that is. I guess we'll always need our dreams. He looked at the chrono on the console. Well, it's long past time to go, I guess, he finished. I'll beam you out and follow you directly. Oh, I almost forgot. What? Geordi asked. You didn't remember to take this with you. Sanchez produced a small white square of plastic. It was a nameplate from the door to Geordi's quarters. Your first commission, Geordi. Keep it as a souvenir. Geordi smiled as he accepted the plate. Thanks. Thanks very much. He stepped up to the platform. Okay, I'm ready. See you again soon, Geordi. Energizing. Sanchez was alone now. He set the transporter for automatic beam out and entered a countdown of 10 seconds. He strode up to the platform and, patting a bulkhead affectionately, said softly, Thanks, old girl. Thanks for the ride. Thanks for everything. Thanks for taking care of us. Take care of yourself now. The transporter energized, and then there were none. Epilogue. Benjamin Franklin was empty now, silent and dark throughout, waiting to be made ready for its next complement of cadets. If anyone had been in the transporter room, with eyes to see, they would have noticed that right after Bernie Sanchez beamed off the ship, a short circuit suddenly hissed and spit its way to life somewhere deep within the innards of the transporter room console. The accident immediately took out the automatic systems designed to shut off power to the console in case of an emergency such as this. With the safeties gone, the console was bound to suffer significant damage because no one was there to activate the emergency manual shutoff. However, if anyone had been there watching, they would have seen the control knob for the emergency manual shutoff begin to turn slowly, ever so slowly, as if by itself. They would have seen the short circuit sputter and die before it could do any real damage. And if anyone had been present, and they had listened very, very carefully, in the utter quiet and the deepest dark, they might have heard the breathy utterance of a single word. Outstanding.